Today we're taking a deep look at a coin that almost everyone has held, spent, or ignored without a second thought, the 1979 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. At first glance it looks like just another copper cent. But when you understand its history, metal composition, minting quality, and rare errors, this penny becomes far more interesting than most people realize. Let's begin with the meaning of no mint mark. If your 1979 Lincoln penny has no letter below the date, it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. During this period, Philadelphia did not place mint marks on pennies. Millions were produced, which is why this coin is still common today. But common does not always mean worthless, especially when condition and errors are involved. The year 1979 sits at an important turning point in U.S. coinage history. America was facing high inflation, rising copper prices, and economic uncertainty. Only a few years later, the U.S. Mint would completely change the penny's composition. That makes 1979 one of the final years of the traditional heavy copper Lincoln cent. This penny is made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, giving it a rich weight and classic color that modern pennies no longer have. Because copper reacts easily to air and moisture, many 1979 pennies have turned dark brown over time. That's why bright red or red-brown examples are much harder to find today. On the front of the coin, Abraham Lincoln's portrait shows fine details in the hair, jawline, and coat. Many 1979 pennies were struck with worn dies, resulting in weak details. A coin with sharp lines, strong lettering, and clean surfaces immediately stands out to collectors. Turn the coin over and you'll see the Lincoln Memorial. Look closely inside the memorial and you can still see Lincoln's statue. On high-grade coins, this detail is crisp and fully visible. On circulated examples, it's often faded or completely worn away. Collectors pay close attention to this area when determining value. Now let's talk about real value, not internet myths. Most circulated 1979 no-mint mark pennies are worth only a few cents above face value. That's the honest truth. However, the value increases rapidly when condition improves. An uncirculated coin with original luster can sell for several dollars. Coins that are professionally graded in high mint state condition can sell for much more, especially if they retain original red color. The real excitement comes from mint errors and varieties. Some 1979 no-mint mark pennies were struck with errors that make them truly collectible. These include off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, and doubled dies. These errors happen during the minting process and cannot be recreated. That uniqueness is what collectors pay for. One of the most searched features is doubling in the date or lettering, especially on the word liberty or in God we trust. Even light doubling can significantly raise a coin's value. Another desirable error is a misaligned strike, where the design appears shifted on the coin. There are also 1979 pennies struck on slightly defective planchets, resulting in unusual weight or shape. These coins often go unnoticed by the public but are immediately recognized by experienced collectors. Now let's talk about what kills value, because many people make this mistake. Cleaning a penny almost always destroys its collector value. Cleaning removes original surfaces and leaves tiny scratches that are easy to spot under magnification. A cleaned 1979 penny is often worth less than a naturally worn one. Collectors want originality, not shine. If you believe your coin might be valuable, handle it carefully. Hold it by the edges, avoid touching the surface, and store it in a proper coin holder. Even fingerprints can permanently damage copper coins. So where can a valuable 1979 no-mint mark penny be sold? Common examples are usually sold in bulk or kept for educational purposes. High-grade or error coins should be sold through coin shops, auctions, or online collector platforms. Coins that are professionally graded by recognized grading services always attract stronger buyers and higher prices. Now let's put everything together. The 1979 Lincoln penny with no mint mark is not a lottery ticket, but it is a meaningful collector coin when condition, originality, and errors come together. It represents the end of an era for copper coinage and reflects a time when everyday change still carried real metal value. Before spending that penny, take a closer look. Check the date, examine the details, and search for errors. What seems like spare change could be a well-preserved piece of American history that collectors still want today. And that's what makes coin collecting powerful, history hiding in plain sight. Today we're exploring a coin that most people never think twice about, yet it quietly marks one of the final chapters of a historic American design, the 2008 D. Lincoln penny. This penny may look ordinary, but its timing makes it special. The year 2008 sits right at the edge of change. Just 1 year later, the Lincoln Memorial would disappear from the back of the penny forever. That alone makes the 2008 Lincoln cent one of the last regular-issue memorial pennies in U.S. history. The letter D below the date tells us this coin was struck at the Denver Mint, a facility known for strong strikes and high production quality. Millions were made, but not all survived in good condition. Many entered circulation during a time when people still used cash daily and copper-plated zinc pennies wore down quickly. The composition of the 2008 D penny is very different from older copper cents. It contains 97.5% zinc with a thin copper coating. That thin layer is the reason these pennies often look dull, scratched, or bubbled today. When the copper plating is damaged, zinc underneath reacts fast, lowering value. Look closely at the front of the coin. Abraham Lincoln's portrait shows fine details in the hair, cheekbone, and coat. On well-preserved coins, these details remain sharp. On circulated pieces, Lincoln's jaw and hair flatten quickly. That wear pattern helps collectors judge condition instantly. Turn the coin over and you'll see the Lincoln Memorial. On high-quality coins, the columns are clean and you can still spot Lincoln's statue inside the building. On worn examples, the memorial blends into the background and details vanish. Now let's talk about real value, not hype. Most circulated 2008 D. Lincoln pennies are worth face value. That's the honest truth. However, value increases fast with condition and errors. Uncirculated coins with original shine can sell for a few dollars. Coins graded in high mint state condition can bring even more. But the real excitement comes from mint errors, and this is where collectors pay attention. Some 2008 D pennies were struck with errors like off-center strikes, die cracks, die chips, and misaligned designs. These errors happened at the mint and cannot be duplicated. Even a small error can turn a 1-cent coin into something worth many times more. Another interesting issue with zinc pennies is plating errors. Some coins show peeling copper, bubbles under the surface, or exposed zinc. While not all plating flaws are valuable, dramatic examples can attract collector interest. One of the most searched features is doubling. Check the date, the word liberty, and in God we trust. Strong doubling that is clearly part of the strike, not damage, can significantly increase value. Now here's something many people do wrong. Cleaning a 2008 D penny destroys its collector value. Even though it's modern, collectors want untouched surfaces. Cleaning removes original texture and leaves marks visible under magnification. A cleaned coin is almost always worth less. If you think your coin may be valuable, store it properly. Hold it by the edges, avoid moisture, and keep it in a coin flip or holder. Zinc coins are especially sensitive to environmental damage. So where does the 2008 D. Lincoln penny truly stand? It may not be rare today, but it is historically important. It represents the final full year of the Lincoln Memorial reverse and the end of a design that lasted nearly half a century. As time passes, well-preserved examples will become harder to find. Collectors already search for bright, clean, error-free examples, and they actively pay premiums for standout coins. The difference between 1 cent and real value comes down to condition, originality, and mint errors. Before you spend a 2008 D penny, take a closer look. That small coin could be a final piece of an era that quietly slipped into history. And that's the magic of coin collecting. Value often hides in the most ordinary places.